Chapter 6. United We Stand. The conference room aboard the Endrun was packed with captains and dignitaries from all representing factions of available spacefaring races, or at least the many who hadn't encountered the awesome power of their enemy yet. The ship had reached its destination of Space Station 9, along with most of the other ships who had been sent there. Those who were close enough to receive the universal distress beacon that emitted from Altera were given explicit instructions about what to do and how to prepare for what may come. That was the last they had heard of the commander or any others from the doomed planet. There was somberness among those who were in attendance. Most were here to distract an enemy from advancing toward their inadequately defended worlds. It had appeared to everyone that the enemy was picking out its targets with great precision and care. But it didn't matter, for the path that they tread was obvious to all. They were heading in this direction. Kaya held her head in agitation from the constant bickering that was being tossed back and forth amongst the leaders. She didn't know how to handle what was going on. A week ago she was barely a dignitary, and now she was thrust into a leadership position on the flagship of a dead world. There was hardly any unity in the face of the odds, which were quickly stacking against them. But she couldn't think about the alternative. There just wasn't one. A hand came to her shoulder. She looked up. Her eyes squinted from the lights above, but she knew who it was, and for once she was grateful.
"All right, everyone, please take your seats," announced Brahm, his voice full and commanding. The sound in the room decreased, as if someone had pressed a mute button, all eyes turning to the big man at the head of the table. He watched each and every one of them, mouths closing before he moved on to the next. After a few seconds, he nodded down to Kaya. She smiled. It was one of his many charming characteristics that she both loved and hated about him. She turned her eyes back to the gathering, swallowing hard before speaking out. "It appears that the enemy will be here in 2 days," she said aloud. "The major contingency of the rest of our help has yet to arrive, and may not be able to do so before then. Are there any suggestions as to what we should do in the meantime?" Heads turned to and fro, looking to see if anyone would present an idea or plan. There were none. Kaya looked around the table, shocked that none of the colony representatives had anything to suggest. She was hoping someone would stand up and take charge and give the council guidance on what to do. Someone who could tell everyone present the odds of what they were up against and still give them the feeling as if they were going to be successful. Her eyes turned to Brahm. Even he sat in silence. She figured he was all talk, with not a single brain cell that could muster up some kind of contingency plan. "Why don't we create a diversion here while the main force gathers around Earth?" asked a timid voice from the far side of the room. Kaya closed her eyes. Everyone else turned their attention to the person who spoke. Ree looked about in discomfort at the eyes that were now fixed upon her. "That would at least give us some time to fully gather. Isn't that where they're headed to anyway?" A roar of aggressive outcry erupted from the room. Ree cowered back, knowing that she had done that which Kaya feared the most. Yet all her befuddled cousin could do was place her head into her awaiting hands once again. "How do we truly know where they are headed to? There is no way we can defeat them, even with the rest of those who will join us. We should fall back and let them take what they want. And let them pick us off one at a time? We should stand united." "And be slaughtered for what? Just because your home world is closer?" The arguing continued to escalate as Kaya could not stand it any more. "Would you all be quiet?" she yelled at the top of her lungs. Her hands were clenched, her eyes doubly so from the constant pounding in her head. She just wanted a few seconds of silence so she could think. The hand touched her shoulder once again, this time tugging at her. Kaya opened her eyes. She was standing before everyone, shaking with fear and fatigue. She had drawn her limit to as much arguing as she could take. She looked at Brahm one last time, his nod of approval easing her burdened soul enough to carry on.
We may not have much of a choice. If there is anyone here who would object to such an action, speak now. But know this." Her eyes made sure they touched with everyone else's before she continued. "This enemy will not rest until their objective is complete, and that is to wipe out our existence from this galaxy. Now, either we fight or we run scared, hoping that they will never find us. But they will. The eyes of the dead do not rest until the light of life has been extinguished, forever." All heads turned to look at those who shared the sentiment. There was a slight acknowledge to what she was saying, but Kaya knew that without the suggestion of Ree, she would still be holding her head on the table.
"If that is the will of Alterra," boomed one of the captains, rising from his chair, "then you will have the pledge of the Helios fleet."
Kaya nodded in acknowledgement, as other captains stood as well. "The Aravel fleet stands at your ready, ma'am," said another. She smiled in respect to the humanoid 2 chairs down. One by one, each captain began to rise and pledge their services to her, recognising her as the one in charge, and that made her feel more isolated than ever. Her wish of having Devin by her side made her yearn to leave this entire ordeal behind. Her heart ached at his image, which flourished throughout her ever-burdened mind. She was so relaxed and peaceful when she thought of him. Kaya turned her attention out to the port room window, hoping she could at least will Wanda to find a way to bring him back. She closed her eyes, the sullen ache of reality pulling her back to where she was. Devin was not here, and there was no guarantee that he would be in 2 days. They had to go on without him. With a little more gusto to her side, Kaya released her biggest sigh yet. Her eyes were bent and determined. They were going to give it their best shot. "We'll draw them off with a portion of what we have here," she announced. "Maybe then we can buy some time for the rest of the fleet to mass around Earth. There we will meet them head-on and eradicate their existence from our sights. We defeated them before. Now we can finish what we started, right?" She turned to Braum. Her look of admiration was all he needed to garnish this moment with his presence. "Those pesky ships were no match for the Royal Altarian fighters," Braum bolstered. His massive body slowly rose from his chair. Those present loomed back in awe of his impressive form. "We can mop up the skies with their hides any time of the day. Their fleet has yet to find out what it really feels like to be attacked by an Altarian tiger. We will not rest until every last one of them falls to the honour of Alterra's memory. And now, I initiate you all into our fleet. You are now a part of the most prestigious group assembled in the history of this galaxy. Odds don't mean a damn thing until the game is on. And now, my friends, I am here to say, let the games begin." There was another eruption throughout the room. This time it was of pride and fulfillment. Each and every one of the captains now had the courage to carry out what they needed to accomplish. As they began to file out of the room, all of the higher captains extended their hands to the Altarian leaders at the head of the table. Kaya embraced the relief that entered her, for at last she had some control over the situation. Her eyes turned to Ree. She winked back at her, letting her know that things were going to be all right. Kaya chuckled at the absurdity of it all. For all intent and purposes, she was starting to think that it was her foolish cousin who was actually in charge.